Welcome back to Village Life in the Apocalypse. So, I've had a few questions about the village that I'm in, and I intend to answer some of those questions in this video, as well as give a few updates as to the situation here. So, let's talk about that. Now, originally, way back in 2007, when I came to China the first time, I actually made a trip out to this village, but at the time it was located in a different place, which is where I'm walking to right now. The old village, where very few people live now. They were originally going to build like a highway through here just a few years back, so everybody moved and they built houses down here. You can kind of see the village now down at the other end. But let's go see the old village so you can have a look. Inside this little cart here, before I get onto the village, is a guy in a hazmat suit. I don't know what he's doing driving around up here, but he must have come in from the town, somehow driven around all those barricades. Thought that was interesting though. He stopped and waved at me. Here's another funny thing. It looks like people are trying to find ways around the barricade. This road hasn't really been used in a long time, but it can connect with the road that's just past the first barricade that I encountered. And I see that somebody is making use of it these days. Looks like they're getting a propane tank, probably for cooking. A lot easier to use propane than to have to make a wood fire. Obviously, people haven't been doing that for a long time. Although when I first came to China in 2007, out here, that was how they were cooking. They had a separate kitchen off to the back, and they would make a fire with some wood and then use that to cook. They made really good food too, by the way. So over here on my left is the only house that's left that's normally occupied, at least on this end. I guess on two ends of this little village there are houses. Now normally people aren't in there, but sometimes during holidays they'll come back. I just kind of turn this around a little bit and you can have a look at where I'm at. This is the old village. I'm going to walk up to the old house that I went to. You can see there's a couple people in here right now. No, they've just got their car parked over there. You'll see a lot of the houses, they're abandoned. But yeah, this is where I came to visit long ago. Stayed a couple days out here. And that house is right here. I'll show you. Stayed here a couple days. You can still see the kitchen building. It looks like it's seen better days. Off over here in the back, that's the kitchen where they would have, where they did cook the food. It was delicious again. I wish they had that in Chinese restaurants in America. Some kind of chicken. Oh man, if I could just get some of that. I guess the lady's still alive. Obviously, she's very old. Call her grandma. And yeah, she can make very good food. You're wondering about other facilities. Here's what's left of the community bathroom right here. It's this little chicken coop looking thing that's falling apart. You can still see the symbols written on there for man and woman. Right behind me. Anyway, that was the bathroom. So, this was the village. And like I said, they were going to build like a highway through here a number of years ago. So everybody moved up to where we're at right now. And obviously most of this is abandoned and slowly falling down. But I don't know how long people have lived out here. I'm assuming a long time. But back then, it was a really interesting experience because it was like going back in time, a few hundred years, but still having some electricity, television, and cell phones. I don't know how else to describe it. It's an experience that it's probably not really possible to get in China anymore. I'm assuming if you went to somewhere like Vietnam, somewhere like that, you might be able to experience something similar, maybe even more primitive than what I experienced back then, but very friendly people and a very close community. Everybody knows each other, obviously. So just to give a brief history of the place as far as what I know, you can see the newer community over there. I don't know too much back before communism, but I do know as far as the time when communism was here, the way that this place worked was they had all these fields here that you can see. And as a community, they were responsible for farming this. And what was produced would be given to the government, and then I guess the government would kind of distribute back what was necessary. And I do believe people ate in like a public canteen. They didn't really cook at home or anything. Well, I don't know if they probably still cook some things at home, but for the most part, everybody ate in a public canteen. Later on, as a lot of reforms started to take place, people were given their own allotment of land, which they could then farm for themselves, and they were able to sell whatever they produced to make money for their family. And that has continued all the way up until today. I've heard that they've been changing the laws so that that will no longer continue after this generation, but it's pretty much how it is right now. Of course, the people in the village, all the young people have pretty much left. They've all gone into the city to work other kinds of jobs. So they're not here to farm the land anymore. The old people, I still see some of them trying to farm here and there. You know, they try to make some money for themselves or have some food set aside. They're pretty careful as far as that's concerned, because they've, you know, most of the really old people have lived through terrible famines and that sort of thing. Now, watching this, you're probably saying, well, Jay, if all the the young people have left and nobody's farming the land, then why does it look so much like everything is being farmed? Well, that's because it is. Some of the younger people, they got smart and they decided it was a great business opportunity for them to make some money here. And what they've done is they've decided they can pay the old people some money to have the right to farm their little pieces of land so they can turn it into large-scale farming. Well, somewhat large-scale. It's not large-scale compared to what we see back in the United States, but larger scale. So they pay them a little bit of money to be able to farm their land, and then they can basically sell what they produce on all of this stuff, which I'm sure gets them quite a bit of money. And that's why everything is looking so farmed. It's because of the younger people coming back and seeing a business opportunity. I know I've mentioned it before, China today, it is a communist country, but believe me, these people are very, very capitalist. They're always looking for ways to make a buck. And not in a bad way. I'm not saying that like they're all trying to like make a buck off of everything, but yeah, they're pretty good at making money. And as you can see here, where they've come back and decided to farm, just pay people a little bit of money. And the old people who really can't go out and farm the way they used to, well, it's a way for them to get something out of their land, that they've been given by the government. Now, again, you might be saying, well, if they've been given this land by the government and they want to make a buck or want to survive off of it, why don't they just sell it? Well, they can't. The government still owns the land, I believe. It's been given to them. It's not land that they can sell. So that's the best option they have for making money. Now, their houses, on the other hand, the houses they have over there in the village, let's say like what happened at the old village that you can kind of see behind there. If the government were to decide they're going to come in here and they're going to build some kind of expansion, or the city started creeping up on this place, which that'll take a while, we're pretty far from the city, then they would be paid for their houses, and whatever the value of the house is at the time, I guess. And a lot of that is dependent on how many floors the house has. So in that case, I guess they could, if the government decided to develop the place. But beyond that, they're not really able to sell the land that they've been given out by the government. So their best bet is these people coming in and renting the land to farm. So here you can see some rice paddies full of water. I guess they're getting ready. You know, they have the Chinese New Year is also called Spring Festival, and I'm always amazed how it seems to be just right about the time when things start to warm up. And things are a little warmer than what they have been. It's been a pretty mild winter, actually. It hasn't ever really gotten that cold. I mean, it's gotten a little cold, but not nearly as cold as other winters that I've been here. Which I guess is good. I hope it warms up soon and the virus goes away and everything can go back to normal. Because I've already got people contacting me about doing business out here, and I have to tell them, like, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm stuck in a little village, and And, you know, no matter how much you want to bring your business here to China, I can't do anything about it right now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I just hope it ends quickly. Now, as far as updates, I just saw that the government has changed its stance on these barriers in the little towns. And now they're saying that's exactly what they want people to do. Now, I don't know if that's because the government really wants people to do that, or if all the little towns did this anyway, and to save face, they said to do that. But in either case, I guess it helps to stop the spread of the disease, but it traps people in. To me, it just creates problems, you know. If they've got all these barricades up and there's an emergency, then how's anything going to get in here? That reminds me. I need to talk about the relation of the village to the town. So in China, everything is kind of hierarchical, I guess you could say. So you have the village is the most basic sort of government in China. It's controlled by the town, which you've seen me drive through the town. They'll have their own sort of government set up. The town is controlled by the county, which is Fengyang, which they'll also have their own, you know, it kind of mirrors all the way up. It's the same sort of setup, just smaller and smaller and smaller. The county is controlled by Chuzhou City, and Chuzhou, of course, is controlled by Anhui Province. And, well, the capital of the province is Hefei, which I've spent tons of time over there. At times I felt it's kind of bland. Other times I really like it and miss it. But that's just the way it is anytime you're in a city. And that's the way it works. And then, of course, the province is controlled by the national government. But really, it's the national government all the way down. That's part of what happened, they're saying, with this Wuhan situation. The local authorities didn't want to make a move because they needed to hear word from above. At least that's what they're saying. I don't know if they're just trying to cover themselves or what by blaming the national government, but essentially that's what they're saying. That, you know, the reason that they didn't report the virus or they didn't react was because they hadn't heard or gotten permission from the national government. I don't know. I feel like I both ways could be true. I don't really know. At this point, I don't think it matters because the virus is already spread everywhere. And, well, I'm just hoping that it goes away soon. I really think the virus is probably very mild compared to what people are scared. It's not these videos that people are talking about where people are falling in the street. That's absolutely not from the virus. I even heard from a doctor that was saying, you know, most of those videos are showing people having like epileptic seizures and that sort of thing that's not related to the virus at all. It's a respiratory virus, so a cough, a fever, I've heard of, you know, diarrhea, that sort of thing being associated with it. And the thing that is killing people with the virus is that some of the people are developing pneumonia. So I really think the virus is extremely widespread compared to what we're hearing. And that's not because, you know, the Chinese government is trying to cover it up. It's because they have no way of knowing how many people are actually infected. The only people that they know about are the ones that are actually going into the hospital, you know, because they have serious problems. Now, they're trying to get people, anyone that has a fever or any of those things, to go get checked up. And that's because they're trying to track it. It's not because the virus is turning people into zombies or something like that and they're trying to cut it off. They're really trying to track it, but it's just impossible because, well, for one thing, like I said, most of the time I think the virus is somewhat mild. And in other cases, people are so scared of going into the hospital because they, you know, they're afraid of what it is. If they do get sick, they just don't go in. So, really, I think that's the case. It's not something sinister. I think they really are trying to do everything they can to stop this virus and to track it and to figure things out. But at this point, it's already spread such that that's just not possible anymore. I know some people are going to be like, well, how come you're supporting this horrible, horrifying government? And I have to say, you know what? I'm not. I know in the comments I got called a communist sympathizer by somebody, and I got called a race traitor by someone. I don't know where that comes from. Race traitor, for heaven's sake. Racist people coming out now over the virus. That's just crazy, the things that are being said about Chinese people and Asian people over this virus. But, I don't support the government, and I don't not support the government. I'm just, I'm a guest here in this country, and I'm making the best of the situation that I can. I know, in this case, that they're not doing anything, they're not trying to trick you and tell you like smaller numbers. They're just telling you the numbers that they know, because it's impossible for them to know how many people are infected. That's what I know here on the ground. Like I said, people are terrified. If they get a fever, they're afraid, like, if I go to the hospital, they're going to put me in with all those sick people, and then I'm definitely going to get this virus that kills people. So most of the cases, I think, are not reported. I think people are just getting sick, and then it passes, and that's it. So and I know the Chinese government probably knows that, and that's why they're now supporting this lockdown thing everywhere, to just let the virus die out, hopefully. And I hope it does. I hope within the next couple of weeks it's all over. So far, I don't know, this must be causing serious economic damage. I mean, it's been, just in the time that I've been making these videos about the virus, it's been 2 weeks. And this all happened during the New Year, excuse me, the Chinese New Year, which is already a long holiday, so that means a break for the economy. And it's continued, and I don't know how much money this is costing the country, and I'm sure there's a lot of small businesses that'll probably go out of business because of this, because they can't afford to just be out of, work for all this time. They still have to pay their rent, they still have to pay everything, and, well, they're probably not going to make it. So I imagine when this is finally over, I can see that some of the places that I like to go, some of the little restaurants and things, are probably not going to open back up. That's kind of sad, but I guess what can you do? We just hope that this ends soon, and the world can open back up and stop being afraid of Chinese and Asian people, and everything can go back to normal. Well, I think that's probably good enough for today's video. I'm going to go ahead and cut it short here. I'll get this thing put together, get it uploaded. Hopefully it takes less time today. Yesterday, when I tried to upload the video, the internet got down so slow that it took like 3 hours to upload just a short little video. Yeah, it's been getting pretty rough. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet, but yeah, like I say, lately it's been extraordinarily slow. So I'll do the best I can. We'll get this uploaded so you can see it, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.